Let's see here. All right, so hopefully you can see my slide deck. So again, my name is Tara and I'm owner of Tingalls. We are a 25-year-old marketing and graphic design firm located in Fitchburg. We're most well known for our 5-day turnaround and our variety of services that we offer in branding. So logo design, sales collateral, illustration, website design, and we also do packaging. And then this fall, I offered a series of 5 Munch and Learn. So this is the fifth, and then I have one more after this that is going to be on small business. What do you need in order to succeed? Because there's a lot of people out there that think you need 10 grand to start a business, and you certainly don't, especially not working with my firm. So today we're going to talk about defining your target audiences, choosing the right platform, setting goals, creating content, dealing with trolls, and then I'm going to give you a couple tips for engagement. So I'm just double check here that I can see the chat. Ooh. All right, I will try to. Okay. So, oops, did I go too far? Oh my gosh. Okay. So the first thing that we need to identify is who you're trying to market to. So when you're choosing a social media platform, because there's so many out there, we need to determine who you're trying to reach and who is the best person, what is the best platform. And you're probably going to choose different target audience or different platforms based on the different target audiences that you have. But instead of just thinking about target audiences in terms of like demographics, which is like age, gender, occupation, income level, that kind of thing, I want you to think about a little bit more about what are their interests, what are their behaviors. So what do they care about? What do they value among, above all else? And what are they struggling with? And what do they use the platform for? So if they use the platform purely for entertainment, like TikTok, for example, they're probably not going to want to be pitched, I don't know, like life insurance or something like that. But you just think about what they are using the platform for. So, who's using it? What is the platform made for? And then what is the content that you want to share? And how do you plan to engage after you post? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to, fill out a form? What is the behavior that you want them to do? So breaking down a lot of the platforms, like finding demographic information on these platforms was like incredibly hard. Like I think this is from HubSpot, and it's from last year. So I don't even know if it's still accurate. So take it with a grain of salt. But in general, the purpose, the downsides, and things are still pretty much all the same. So as far as Facebook is concerned, it's actually highly skewed towards men now, from what I understand. So, but typically a little bit older people than ages 25. I actually think that's really low, but that's what HubSpot said. The purpose of Facebook is for community building, fostering discussions, sharing content. You can post videos, live streams, articles, and event promotions and that kind of thing. And the downside is that, Zuckerberg is trying really hard to be relevant to the generation, like the new generations that are coming out. But the downside is that it's seen as kind of an old person's or older person software or social media platforms. So if you're skewing more towards wanting to reach target audiences in the 40 to 60 range, that might be a good one for you. If you're also business to consumer, that might be a better platform than a B2B. I don't know much about Twitter or X as it's called now. I don't personally use it, but it's a little bit more for like real-time updates, news sharing, thought leadership for sure. There's a lot of people out there that are using Twitter to basically, show that they've got the prowess in the field of their industry. But this is really short text posts, polls, GIFs and stuff like that. Because like tweets have a very short lifespan, it's very limited like reach organically. You'd have to really like dig down deep into these tweets to like look at the historical nature of it. YouTube. So YouTube, again, I'm not really using YouTube other than I use it to upload my webinars for replay, things like that. But It's more storytelling, educational content. You can upload shorts in YouTube now that act kind of like TikTok. So if you have short, tutorials or case studies, things like that, you can upload those into YouTube. It is a video only platform. And the downside is that, if you want a really good looking video, it does take a lot of time to create that. And so there's production effort, and then there's also costs if you're going to decide to outsource it. So, again, that's if you're looking to, post videos, demonstrations, stuff like that. The next three is LinkedIn. So last night I went to a LinkedIn seminar, so I didn't have time to even update my slide deck with all that I learned, but I learned a lot about B2B related marketing when it comes to LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is primarily seen as like the professional, professionals platform. It's for networking, connecting with people either in or outside your industry. It's definitely used for sales and also recruiting. It's more B2B marketing and like thought leadership. So a lot of custom like self-branding. You'll notice a lot of people, even though they're working for another company, will self-brand them as like, the realtor, Madison's favorite realtor or whatever it is. So you're going to see a lot of that out there. The downside is if you're a roofing company and you're trying to let people know about a hail damage special, that might not be the right platform for that. Again, it has a limited appeal outside the B2B office audiences. Instagram, so LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook are kind of tied together, and now the new Meta Business Suite. So probably should put those together because I feel like they have very similar kinds of content. It's a visual brand. It's for storytelling, brand promotion, photos, carousel posts, reels, and stories, and things like that. It is very highly competitive because it is very widely used. Like from, I don't agree with this 18 to 34. I mean, I'm using it, I'm 50. So, take that with a grain of salt. But the algorithm favors really frequent posting, video, lives, things like that. So, and engagement. So they want a lot of people to be commenting. They want comments on comments, things like that. The one downside of LinkedIn that you probably know about is that you can't add any links to external websites. So you can't add a link to your website because people can't leave the platforms. They're kind of stuck there. And then TikTok, I'm not using TikTok. My 18-year-old daughter is using TikTok, but demographics are definitely skewed younger, very short form, entertainment kind of videos, very trendy kind of things. And it definitely requires constant creativity. So if you're really not a super creative person or you don't have like a calendar of content to put out there, that might not be the right platform. But those are generally the top six platforms that businesses are using. I did want to make sure that you know about this one. And a lot of people are like, oh, my Google business listing, that's not really a social media platform. Nay, nay, it definitely is. So everybody is using Google My Business. They're using it for directions. They're using it to find out what time you're open. They're trying to find out whether or not you offer online appointments or you do walk-ins. But some of the other things that people don't know that you can do is you can use this like a social media platform. You can add products and services. You can add a link to like I use Calendly for my appointments, and you can add a link right in there for that. But then the cooler thing is that you can add updates. So you can add regular news, photos. I don't know if you can add video in here or not, but you can add regular updates about your company in here, just like you would a social media feed. And it used to have a really limited, I think like 7 days, and then it would fall off. Now it's feeding just like a social media feed. So you're able to go back in time and look at other specials and other updates and news and things like that. And there is an SEO value to this because you can add keywords in here. You can link it to your website. So then you're showing Google, hey, there's authority here with my listing and my website. And you can, like I said, you can put in offers, you can put in like coupons, lots of different stuff. So if you're not claiming and optimizing and checking this regularly, definitely do that. It's the first thing that I do when I get a new client is we go out and make sure that this is polished and pristine. I just went out there to show somebody a tutorial, and we were going through all of the different sections that you can edit. And there were like four more things now that questions about inclusion and equity, things about wheelchair accessibility. There was one about languages, whether or not you speak English or Spanish or other languages. So put this on your radar to be updating it at least weekly if you can, every other week. If that's what you're going to do, that's fine. But also put a note in your calendar to go out and make sure that you're also checking each section and clicking into each section so that you can make sure that you are updating that. Okay. So types of social media goals. So now that you have kind of like a type of like what platform you want to be on, the really important thing is to determine what your goal is on that platform. So you don't want to be posting the same content across all your platforms. You need to determine like, is my Facebook and my Instagram account to build brand awareness? And then I'm going to use LinkedIn to drive traffic to my website. Or are you going to use some sort of lead generation through Facebook ads or something like that? Maybe you're just wanting to foster a community of engagement. Maybe you want to become a thought leader. I would definitely encourage you to try to determine at least one or two goals for each platform that you're on, because it will much easier streamline the content that you put out there and also help you identify, again, who you're trying to connect with. So each platform that you're on should have its own goal. And the question that I usually get around this time is like, how many platforms should I be on? And the answer is really, you should be on the one and do the one really well that your target audience is on. So if you're really comfortable in Facebook, but that's not really your target audience, you could have you could have a platform out there with your branding and your marketing and stuff like that. But if you're not going to post on it regularly, it's really not going to get shown to anyone unless you start creating engagement with those posts. So try, if you're a B2B, try to give LinkedIn, an opportunity. I just went to a seminar last night, like I said, and there's a lot about LinkedIn that I learned. I'll drop a couple things that I learned about LinkedIn. Number one is that video is king out there. So, and I'm going to show you an example. So if you got to start to get comfortable in front of the camera, it's not hard to do it once you do a couple videos. And Chantal Sumis she was the speaker, and she's like, you just have to climb the cringe mountain and get over it, because no one likes looking at themselves. We're all human. It's all like, we all like hate to see ourselves on camera. But it's really important because that face, the eyes is what draws that trust in, and it helps people connect with your brand. So that was one thing I learned. The second is that LinkedIn does not want you putting links in your posts that take users away from the LinkedIn platform. So if you're trying to like build traffic to your website, it's not going to happen. They're not going to show that post in their algorithm. So what I'd recommend is if you're doing blogging or case studies or something like that, and you're wanting that to be, build traffic to your website, start to build your own personal library of articles right on LinkedIn. There's an articles area that you can put either in a personal LinkedIn page or your business page. So I would definitely start thinking about that. And then when you put your little blurb in the actual post, you can link it to the article within LinkedIn and they will reward you for that. So that was another thing that I learned. Um, all right, moving on. So as far as engaging content is concerned, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into something called differentiation, which is the last bullet point on here. But I want you to think a little bit more about how you can use video. And these are some of the little ideas that I came up with that like Tingalls is trying to do a little bit more of. And that's doing educational based posting. So doing tutorials, doing frequently asked questions. We did a video that was a time-lapse video of Callie doing a custom illustration where she had sketched something out and then she was showing how she was vectorizing, and it got a ton of views because people were like, I think, just engaged watching how fast she was doing it. It was a time lapse, but it was just a kind of way to show like a behind the scenes of like, this is what it takes to do custom illustration, versus choosing AI or things like that. Taking frequently asked questions about your organization and creating, Q&As right on a video. That can be really powerful. And if you don't know what the frequently asked questions are about your industry, go out to ChatGPT and ask it. Just say, hey, I'm in the construction industry. We do siding and roofs. And what are the top 25 frequently asked questions about our organization? And then, you can create content on that. You can create blogs for your website on that. But that's really good social media content because it's going to teach people about your company. Entertaining. So, if you're on Facebook and Instagram, they're going to reward you for faces. I swear to God, the algorithm is just set up to show faces higher than text-based posts. So try to get photos of your staff, get photos of your clients coming in to pick something up, success stories, or, staff photos, do behind the scenes stuff. So like, Tingles does a lot of printing. And so like I was thinking maybe we should start doing some like unboxing videos of like when printed stuff comes back from the printer and post that because it's like an exciting time when we get to see our designs come to reality. Um, Inspirational stuff. So success stories, testimonials. If you can get your client on video to do a testimonial, even if it's like super, short and quick, that would be awesome. And then if you're doing any like promotional discounts or new product launches, they're going to go so much farther if you can do that on video, and show people what's new. And then, so the other stuff that I wanted to talk a little bit deeper about today is learning about how you are unique in your industry and how you are different than your competition. And if you can say it about yourself and it's the same for your competition, that's not a differentiation point. So what are, the thing with social media too is like it's a long feed of content, right? So like if you're a nonprofit or even if you're a for-profit, you're getting new subscribers and new people all the time that are following you on social media. They might not know what your mission statement is. They may not know what your core values are or what your culture is of working in that company. You have to constantly remind people of that. So that's good content right there to be putting out monthly, or even, if you're a nonprofit, probably weekly in some cases to talk about the impact you're having in the compute community. What are your brand promises? Like, think about your industry and like, what do people complain about in your industry? Designers don't listen. They just want to do their own agenda. Well, we're not like that. We have a very standardized process to listen to our clients, to intake as much as we can about them and learn about them before we even begin designing for them. So, those are the brand promises that you can illustrate through social media. And then differentiation. So sharing how you're unique. So I believe, and I've written a book on this with a couple other consultants, that there are four areas of differentiation when it comes to your company. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, if you're a nonprofit, we can talk about something else, or talk about a different check sheet for nonprofits. But if you are a nonprofit and you want my four P's of differentiation for nonprofits, drop the word nonprofit in the chat. But I believe that the people who work for you, the leaders that are involved in your organization, the clients that you work with, the strategic partners that you work with, all the people that are involved in your company have a differentiation. The process in which you onboard, the process in which you work with clients, the technology you use, that kind of thing. The product itself, like how is that unique? I know people talk about features and benefits of their products all the time, but how does that actually solve a problem? Like how does it make someone's pain go away when they're struggling with something? And then pricing. Pricing is something that for some industries they really need to be competitively priced, but maybe you offer, some other forms of payment plans or something like that. So I'm going to break these down to give you examples that you can use in your social media. And you don't have to furiously write this down. If you're on the call today, I'm going to send you my slide deck. But I want to give you some examples of that are part of a longer questionnaire that I give my clients when they become a client here at Tingles and they're struggling with their social media. But I'm going to give you three questions for each one of these to try to get you in the mindset of like what people might want to learn about your company. So under people, so what unique skills or expertise do your employees possess? Do they do executive level training? Do they have ongoing skills that they have to learn and polish up on? Tingles offers 4 hours of paid professional development for our designers every month to watch a webinar, check out, a professional doing something and kind of copy it from a standpoint of like enhancing their skills. Software, the Adobe suite is constantly changing, so we're always having to stay up on our skills. What about the diversity and inclusivity of your workplace? How does that contribute to your competitive advantage? This is kind of buzzwords right now is this inclusivity, and how does your company, how have you embraced that, and how is that changing how you deliver your products and services? And then the third is like culture. Culture's huge right now. How do you offer flexible, hybrid opportunities so that when the snow comes eventually, my designers are all set up so that they can work from home, well, except one of them. We got to get Katie set up. But that is something that Tingles believes in is like making sure that you're safe. And so we want you to be able to work from home if you've got a sick child or you're going to take your dog to the vet, those kinds of things. So the culture of your organization, if that is not on your social media or not on your website, that's a huge missed opportunity, especially when people are looking for jobs. So under process, process is kind of about not only how do you work with your clients, but how do you work with some of your strategic partners? How do you work with your vendors? How do you work with, those kinds of things? And what is the unique approach that you follow? Maybe what is your estimating like? And same thing, like how do you ensure a seamless onboarding process for new clients? Is it hard for them to contact you? Like when you look at your website, okay, you've got this great social media and it's going to your website, but then they get there and they're like, well, I don't know what the first step is. You need a call to action on every web page, every page of your website to make sure that people understand when they're done reading and they're interested, that they know to pick up the phone and call you, fill out a form, download a PDF, whatever that call to action is. But making it easy for people to become clients, I think, is really important. Tools and technologies that enhance your client process efficiency. So throughout the years, Tingles has looked at lots of different software programs for project management. And like we always come back to email as our main source of technology because anytime we ever implement like a CRM or some sort of a proofing system, we lose that one-to-one connection with our clients, and we don't have that opportunity to ask additional questions, to maybe upsell them on another product or service, those kinds of things. So in this case, technology being absent from that is actually one of our benefits because we want to hear our clients, listen to their needs and that kind of thing. But maybe you've got I just got off a coaching call this morning with somebody that's using HubSpot. I don't know anything about HubSpot, but I know that it's super robust. I know I found out today you can do email marketing right from that platform. So, that might be something where you're like, we stay in contact with our clients through, our HubSpot, which is our CRM, and you're going to get added to our email list, and we're going to send you, behind the scenes marketing tips, whatever that might be. Okay, products. I think products is probably the easiest from a sales standpoint for people to talk about on social media. But I want you to think a little bit more about how do your products and services address customer pain points in the market? Again, and if you're not sure what the customer pain points are, ask ChatGPT, what do people complain about in the graphic design world? What do people complain about in the construction world or the home building world? And it'll give you a long list. And then all you have to do is say, yeah, we don't do that. Like, oh, I had my home remodeled or my kitchen remodeled and we weren't able to use our fridge or our dishwasher for 3 weeks. That's a huge pain point. So maybe your company has like a checklist or something at the end of the day. It makes sure that those homeowners can use their home and live in their home. That you're like, well, that's just everybody does that. Yeah, but not everybody talks about it. So talk about it. Proprietary technologies or intellectual property that gives you a competitive edge. So like Tingle's 4 Ps, the way that I work with my clients to develop messaging strategies and ways for them to talk to their clients through these different strategies is definitely intellectual property. I didn't make it up. I mean, marketing's been around since the dawn of whatever, but it is something that I've developed and refined over the last 10, 15 years to really give people that edge against their competition. And then what do you do to take what steps do you take to stay ahead of industry trends? So, I mean, with AI right now, how are you going to implement AI into maybe your service offerings? And how is it going to lower your prices maybe? Maybe it increases your prices because you have more value add. AI is really hot right now, and people want to know how other people are integrating it into their workflow and how it can, help streamline and reduce errors, those kinds of things. So that would be something you can definitely talk about. And lastly, pricing. So again, you may be like, well, I've done research and all of my competitors' pricing is relatively the same as mine. That's fine, but you can also just look back at the other three P's and excel at those if your pricing is the same. But maybe you offer some sort of pricing model or payment method. Tingles during COVID offered 90 days no payment on website design so that people could get up and running because their websites were like maybe they had a horrible website or they couldn't get a hold of their web designer. I mean, Tingles did so well during the pandemic because we were offering services that our competition just like shut down, just walked away. And we were like, how do we, what does this make possible for us? So we were like, okay, right now everything's really uncertain. People are really scared about, what's coming down the pipeline. But we got to keep our doors open. We got to do curbside. We got to do whatever. But our website doesn't reflect that. And so a lot of times we were having to start over with these websites because they were so dated or antiquated or not mobile friendly. And then we just said, hey, we're going to design and build your website, but you don't have to pay for it for 90 days. It was huge for us. And we still offer that program to nonprofits and startups. So, it's definitely an opportunity from a standpoint of pricing to be flexible in that area. Um, Loyalty programs, referral bonuses, or other incentives. Tingles has a referral, bonus thing where if you refer somebody, we give you both $50. You get $50, they get $50. So it's not a huge referral bonus, but our clients are our biggest referral sources. So it's just an opportunity to, lower their costs by working with Tingles if they refer people to us. And then estimating process. So like under your pricing, maybe you use a very high-tech estimating process that allows you to take that estimate and the estimate becomes the invoice. So there's no surprises for your clients at the end. Or it takes into account 20 plus years of experience so that ABC is potentially going to happen. And here are the things that you've put into your proposal, as contingencies and things like that. So that's another way to think about pricing. Okay. So hopefully that's not like you're not like crazy, but we're going to talk about trolls because this is something that I get asked a lot about. And trolls not only on social media, which I haven't really like, knock on wood, I have not experienced too much trolls. I have experienced competitors commenting on my content only to see as like a following mechanism to like find out what people are saying after I post something, which is kind of weird. But let's talk a little bit about trolls. So I got 5 tips. So the first thing is to pause before you post anything. And sometimes it's actually good to sleep on it a little bit because like I think our first reaction is to get defensive and be like, why are you saying that? Like don't say such mean things or you took that the wrong way or whatever it is. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember that these trolls are the people who didn't get picked for kickball, right? So they've got a grudge, and this is giving them a place to like take it out on people. So pause before you post. Not every comment deserves a response. Sometimes it just, deserves a delete key. Um, and if there's anything that is like, harassment or inappropriate, obviously do report that to Facebook or Instagram or wherever. And I do feel like they are taking bullying and those kinds of scams like really seriously. So do escalate it if it's like, inappropriate. Know who you're dealing with. So that like this comes into like testimonials as well, like reviews on Google, reviews on Facebook. Understand the difference between a troll and an upset customer. If this is a customer that is commenting on something, definitely respond to that post, meet them with empathy, say, I'm sorry, that you're frustrated. I can tell that you're frustrated. Offer to take the conversation offline. Try to figure out what the root of that problem is and try to make it right. Even if you can't get them to take that conversation offline and somebody is reading that post, they're going to be able to look at that. Tara reached out to that person, was like, I'm so sorry that there was that typo in your flyer. I am going to make that right for you. I'm going to reprint it or whatever it's going to be. They're going to see that the owner or somebody from the company is taking responsibility and doing something with that, and be helpful. If they keep arguing, just move on. That's trolling, and they're trying to. I heard my 15-year-old twins told me about rage baiting. Never heard that before, but apparently that's when like somebody trolls and says something in order to get people to like rah, like really like come at them, and they just want that. They're needing that attention. This is the only way that they're going to get it. So if they just keep arguing with you and you're just it's exhausting, just move on, don't respond or delete, you can delete it. Um or obviously the last one is protect your space, but you can obviously hide, delete, block. You can also filter keywords so you can, if somebody says something profane from a profanity standpoint, that it doesn't even show up on your page, stuff like that. I like to diffuse trolls or, with a little bit of kindness and humor, if that makes sense for your brand. It can lighten the mood and kind of give people a little bit of insight into who you are as a business owner. Kindness can disarm anybody that's negative, so much faster than anger. Like all a bully wants to do is get a reaction out of you. But if you just say, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, it is something I'm going to definitely consider tonight, then they can't come at you over and over and over again. So, be kind. Use hashtags or something like hashtag ain't that the truth, whatever. I mean, just try not to agree with them if it's something that's obviously not true. Don't mock them or belittle, even if they're wrong. Which leads me to correcting misinformation. So I do reputation management for people on their Google listings. So I've got brands that I've worked with for a really long time, and they've really empowered me to be able to handle, both positive and negative reviews about their company. And one of them owned a laundromat, and somebody came in and was like, she gave them 5 stars, but then said, I'm giving you 5 stars because I've been coming here for a really long time without any problems, but I did you need you to be aware of this problem that happened. So she put the problem in the review, and I read it, and of course I screenshotted it, sent it to the client. It was like, do you know who this is? Do you know what the framework here is? And he told me the story and told me what to write back. And so it was a way for me to be like, again, thank you for your 5 star review. This is obviously an exception to the rule of what you experience at our laundromat. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. And once you have kind of once you have acknowledged it, or you've made an offer to make it right, or you have made it right, I feel like you have every right to go back and ask them to remove that or remove or change the, 1 star to 5 star, whatever that is. I feel like when you don't respond at all, people just think, oh, they agree with that, or they're not taking accountability, or they're just not social on their social media. And that's really not the message that you want to portray. Another thing I learned about in the LinkedIn is that if somebody comments on your post and you just hit the like button, that's not considered engagement. LinkedIn wants to see you comment on that comment and then da 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 da. They're going to show that that post has a lot of engagement, and wow, that guy really knows what he's talking about because he's posting, even in his own post, he's carrying on that conversation. So if you're just liking or if you're not commenting on your post, or you're not monitoring that, you need it. I would rather you not post at all than not be social with people when you're posting. Okay. Focus on the facts under misinformation. Keep your replies short, clear, and professional. And reassure your audience that you're not the troll, that you're the business owner. And leave it at that. And then again, just going back to protecting your space. use blocking, deleting, filter keywords, that king, and then encourage and engage with your following, or encourage and engage with people who are positive with your brand. Like, thank you so much for saying that. Like, I don't care that your mom and your sister are the ones that comment on all of the Tingles posts. I love that. They're following you, following me. They're following your journey here as an employee. That's totally fine with me. And I love it. So just comment and encourage and let them know that you're happy that they're with you. Okay, so under engagement, we're almost done here. Let me get you out early a little bit. Ooh. No, I don't want to show you that. Not yet. I'm going to end on a funny note, but I don't want to show you that yet. Okay. So tips on engagement, which is something that, this is hard because engagement on different platforms can mean different things. But engagement to me is just a kind of just means like that you are doing the work. You're not just posting, but you're also then reviewing the insights of who is engaging with the post, what is performing really well, what's not performing, and stop doing that. So at the LinkedIn thing, I did learn a lot and supported a lot about being authentic and being showing up like a human. Like, people don't buy from companies, they buy from people. And so, same thing with, like, people connect with people, not logos. And so, sharing faces, stories, behind the scene moments, wins in your company. Like, we're always so easy to like focus on something that went wrong or get down on something that went wrong. But there's so many good things and wins that happen. Tingles actually just started on our Monday morning meetings. To talk about client kudos. Like, Callie does all of our project management, so she gets all these great emails from clients that are like, "Oh, it's perfect. Oh, it's designed just what I wanted." Well, the designers won't get that unless we kind of let them know. So we started doing that, little wins, and we should do something more about that on social media. Um, a team selfie on here's what we're working on today. We'll get way more comments than like a polished promotional graphic, and I have proof of that. And faces, again, if you're on Facebook and Instagram, that is what it was designed for. That's what the algorithm is going to show. And I also really firmly believe in real photos, not stock photos. I'd rather you not use stock photos ever in social media unless it's really something specific. Play around with AI if you really want to find something that's like, special, or like a picture of you like on a mountain or something like that. Um, the second is ask for easy interactions. So post it, invite opinions, reactions, like which one's your favorite, or caption this, or what would you do? Starting your social media with like Tingle's three-part social media. So there's a question to stop the scroll, and then kind of a nugget of wisdom or a nugget of whatever the post is about, and then a call to action of some sort. So even in Instagram, you can have calls to action, even though it's not a website link. You can ask them to comment below or to share this post or repost this or something like that. Make the response super low effort, a tap or a short comment, those kinds of things. And then the third is to post consistently and respond quickly. So algorithms on all channels are going to reward people who are engaged, commenting on comments and things like that. If you don't respond to people who are responding with you, they're going to stop responding, especially if they have a question about something or you've asked them to comment and then you don't do anything with that. And then quick replies just show that you're listening, and that back and forth banter is what drives brand loyalty over time. And that's definitely been proven. And again, engagement is about looking at what's working and doing more of that. So the last thing I'm going to show is an actual, like, in preparation for this event, I was like, I'm going to do a little bit of content on LinkedIn, and I'm going to see what performs better. So we did a text-based kind of outdated website haunting you, time for a fantastic refresh. So awesome lettering by Katie, really cute graphics and things like that. It got one like. Not great, right? Then on Halloween, we posted a picture of our costumes. It got 8 likes. But then I posted a picture of me doing a little dance, which some of you might have seen, and it got 34 likes, 8 comments, and 181 views. So I'll share it with you. So I have no idea whether or not that's cringy, probably, but I had fun making it and I put it out on put it out on LinkedIn and yeah, I got a lot of engagement. If anybody knows me, they know that Halloween is my absolute favorite holiday. So I wanted to do something that was definitely me and that was definitely it. So proof right there that on LinkedIn video definitely works. So that's what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed what you heard and saw and you learned something new, I would love to hear your takeaway in the chat today. Otherwise, I would be happy to open this up for questions if anyone has anything specific they'd like to know. Hearing crickets, I don't blame you. It is Friday. So I'm going to let you go and have a great rest of your day and go Badgers tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Bye.